So hello everyone and welcome to this masterclass on AI in the legal industry with Shoosmiths. We're very excited to have you here this afternoon for this interesting session and hopefully you enjoy this masterclass and find it informative. So at the end of last year, the Law Society highlighted some recent research which found that a remarkable 96% of UK law firms have already integrated AI into the aspects of their practice. And I think statistics like this highlight why sessions such as the one today are so important. And so we always start a masterclass with a learning outcome. So by the end of this masterclass, you should learn more about how AI is transforming legal services, learn how Shoosmiths is integrating AI into its practice, get a better understanding of how to develop AI as a skill and using AI to prepare for a training contract, and learn how junior lawyers at the firm use AI as well. So I'm just going to hand over to our panelists shortly, as I'm just as excited as you are, but I first just wanted to quickly go over some key information about today's session. So please use the online question tool to post any questions that you have, and I'll be posing them to our speakers at the end if we have some time left. Please note that this masterclass is being recorded. The recording of the session will be sent to all registrants after the session in a follow-up email, and will be available on our YouTube channel very shortly as well. And in case you don't follow LCN on social media or are not subscribed to our newsletter, applications for our legal careers conferences, Law Careers Net Live, are now open. The conferences take place in Manchester, London, and virtually in late November and early December. And they give you the opportunity to interact with top law firms, learn about their businesses, and network with recruiters, solicitors, partners, as well as trainees. The full day event has a partner panel where we'll be discussing trending issues such as AI, and Shoosmiths is also one of our sponsors for the Manchester event. So if you'd like to meet and network with the firm representative from the firm there, make sure you apply. The application link will be in the follow-up email of the session, and there's also more info on Law Careers Net's event page. Okay, so with that out of the way, I'm going to start off by asking all the attendees on the to answer the question on the screen, so our panelists can get an idea of who's joining us today. I'm just going to share these results. Seems like we've got a great mix all across first year, second year, third year, non-law, postgraduate, and in work. So thank you for that. And I'd like to do another couple of polls just to get more of an idea of how you guys have used AI, or if you've used AI at all. So this is the first one. So do you currently use any AI tools in your legal studies or work? Would you say you use it regularly, occasionally, or you haven't yet, but you might be interested in? Great, thank you. I'm just going to share these results with everyone. It seems a lot of you are interested or have used AI already, either regularly or occasionally, and some of you have experimented, but you're interested in finding out more, which is great because we'll be going over stuff like that in this session. And just as a final poll, how do you feel about AI's role in the future of the legal profession? Seems a lot of you think said it will support but not replace traditional roles, which is great. A lot of you are also unsure and you're still learning, and there are quite a lot of you who also says it poses risk that we're not ready for, and I think we'll definitely cover some of these aspects in the session today. So thank you very much for sending these in, and without further ado, we'll pass on to Laura from Shoosmiths. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. It's great. We've got nearly 200 of you on the call today, which is fantastic. I'll just quickly introduce myself. So I'm Laura. I'm part of the emerging talent team at Shoosmiths. I've worked at Shoosmiths for just over 2 years now, and AI, although I'm not in a legal advisor role, is still really important in my role, not only for my day-to-day work. It's a really useful and helpful tool I have, but also in helping upskill the future talent that we're bringing into the firm, and get the conversation going as early as possible. So I will just share my slides now, so just give me a moment. Fantastic. I am working off 2 screens as well, so sorry if it looks a little bit weird. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to spend half an hour just going through some slides, and then we're joined by 2 of our trainee solicitors at the firm to talk about what AI means actually in practice, and to answer some of those questions around how we're actually using AI. Is it something that poses a risk, or is it just a helping hand and a helpful tool? So we will talk about that in a little bit more detail. So if you do have questions, pop them in the chat box and we will get to them towards the end, but we do have a couple of questions prepared as well. So before I get into the slides, I wanted to just give an overview of what I'm going to talk about today. So it's going to largely focus on how you can utilise AI at the moment. I think it's a really important skill to start to develop as early on as you can. It's something that we're going to start expecting to see from our junior lawyers in the firm. So the earlier you can kind of get comfortable with it, you can understand it as well and know its limits and its risks and use it in a really positive way, the better. I'm also going to share a little bit of information on how we use it at Shoosmiths, and we'll go into more detail in the Q&A part. And then also how you can use it to help you through recruitment processes. This is all very specific to Shoosmiths, so just keep that in mind. Lots of firms might have different policies on where they would like to see AI in the recruitment process and where they might not like to see AI in the recruitment process. So do just keep that in mind. But before we get into that, I wanted to just share a little bit of insight into Shoosmiths. And that's because although we are a very innovative and forward-thinking firm when it comes to our use of AI, it does also come down to us as a firm, our values, what we stand for, the clients we work with, the areas we work in. That's core to us. So that only AI and innovation only exists with that core that we have at the firm. So there's a bit of information on the screen now. So we're quite a large firm with over 1,500 people. We have people across 14 locations as well. We're very fortunate to have received lots of awards in the past couple of years, and we are ranked, we have 65 plus practice areas ranked in Chambers and Partners UK Guide 2023 and many more from 2024 as well. So a really exciting and forward-thinking and growing firm to join. So if that's something you want to see in your future career, definitely keep in touch with us from now on. So we are a full-service commercial law firm, and on the screen is a diagram of how we kind of function. So we have our three core divisions. That's corporate, real estate and litigation. Litigation is also known internally as advisory services. And then we have our four key areas and where we work with clients. So financial services, mobility, energy and infrastructure, technology and living. And that's where we really focus the majority of our work. And then, like I said, our values. So our values are really important to us as a firm, and these were recently rebranded around 3 or 4 years ago, I think, just to really get on track with our strategy, our growth strategy specifically, but also what it means to work at Shoosmiths. So we have focusing on what matters, so we know what's important, and we want to kind of cut through that noise and make sure we're providing answers simply and clearly to our clients. Making a difference, we want to make a difference with the smaller things and also the much bigger things as well. Delivering together, one thing I always say about Shoosmiths is how collaborative we are as a firm, and the majority of people, when you ask the question, why did you want to work at Shoosmiths and what's keeping you there, it is the collaboration, it's the culture, it's the support and the people. So yeah, that's a real key value for us, and alongside that being ourselves. So we're really proud of who we are, and we want our people to show up to work and be themselves and feel that they can thrive. So that's what we're looking for our junior talent that are joining the firm to do as well. So let's move on to AI and legal innovation, which is why you're all here. So the important stuff, definitely. So AI isn't really new to Shoosmiths at all, actually. So the past year or so has saw a big increase in the legal industry with AI, legal innovation, legal tech. But we've worked with it for years, so it didn't seem like a huge jump for us when that kind of craze of AI hit. So most recently, we have Microsoft Copilot across the firm, and I think we're nearly at everyone having their full licenses for Microsoft Copilot. And we are very much encouraged to do that, and you may have seen recently that that is now part of our firm-wide bonus structure. So that was in the press a couple of months ago. So we are incentivised to use Copilot where we can. There's lots of training, lots of support out to help you get to know what Copilot can do, how you can prompt it, and how you can use it effectively. So we have Copilot champions across the teams. So my manager, Sam Hope, is a Copilot champion at Shoosmiths, and she's taught me a lot about how to use it in a really beneficial way, in a quick way. So that is a huge tool for everyone at Shoosmiths. We also have other tech that often goes a little bit unnoticed, like Teams Premium. And one of the kind of key pieces of tech that we have, and like I said, this has been at Shoosmiths for a few years, I think since 2022, we have our contract reviewing tool called SIA. So that can take what would have been hours of contract reviewing time and money for a client down to minutes. So it's really cost effective, it's time saving, and it's a really valuable tool to have, not only for our lawyers but also for the clients that we're advising. So AI is kind of everywhere at the moment, and it's in a lot of the products that we use, and it's there as exactly that. It's a helping hand, it's a tool that we are being kind of trained to use, I suppose, and we're really seeing the benefits from that. I definitely am, and hopefully our trainee solicitors later on will give you a bit of information as to how they're finding it, and how that may have looked different from what they expected their training contract to look 2-3 years ago, and how AI has kind of helped them through those first couple of months of their training contract. One important thing as well, I think one of the polls earlier had an answer around it. AI can maybe take away people's jobs, and it is risky. But one of the things that is really important to us at Shoosmiths is that tech does not come before people. So we were voted one of the most innovative firms in Europe. So we ranked 11th, and then we are in the top 10 firms in the UK for innovation as well. But we also scored 9.5 out of 10 in the people ranking. And that just goes to show it is people and tech. It's not one versus the other. And we can only have the tech if we have the people. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So moving on now around AI in the recruitment process, and what this means for you as individuals that are looking for a training contract or looking for placements and that kind of thing. So we are embracing AI in the application, and what this means is that we encourage you to use it. We do have full guidance on what that means, and it means to use it sensibly, responsibly, effectively. But why are we doing that? First of all, AI is rapidly evolving within the legal industry and all other industries. And it's really helpful. It can really elevate your answers and allows you to focus on your skills, your strengths, the role of a trainee, and it can really help with structure and word count and putting your words on a page. I always find that I've got all the thoughts in my head, but when it comes to putting them down on paper, that's what I really struggle with. So that's where AI has really helped me in my day-to-day role. What's also important is that it is going to become a skill, and when you join a firm in 2-3 years' time after getting your training contract offer, this will have developed quite far on. And a firm like Shoosmiths, we have Copilot, and we do have the resources to learn on the job of how to use that effectively. But you can also get a head start and become kind of get to know the tech, get to know how to prompt AI properly and effectively. So why not start now? So we don't want to take away AI from people applying and then expect them to use it in their training contract. That kind of didn't make a lot of sense for us. So yes, you are allowed to use it. What we're not doing is using AI to screen or review your application. So that is still all done by the emerging talent team. We're not expecting you to be an expert on AI. So as much as I'm saying get used to it, get involved with it, we're not expecting you to turn up and be an absolute expert and be creating your own tech or anything like that. But we are expecting you to understand the impact of AI on the legal industry and the role of a solicitor, and be used to kind of using it in a certain way. But definitely, you don't have to be an expert on it. You just have to be aware of what's going on with it. So how to use AI responsibly and what we're looking for and what we're definitely not looking for. So you can use it in really simple ways. If you're applying to a couple of different firms, you can use it to help map out deadlines, find events that are specific. So if you really want to learn more about a firm's AI and legal tech and innovation, use it to research things like that. Use it to help map out your deadlines. It can really help articulate and refine your own ideas. So like I said earlier, when you have all the ideas in your head, but then you're given a 300 word count and it's not matching up, it can help really refine things and also use it as a starting point. So when you're looking for what firms are for you, when you're identifying your own skills and strengths, it can make that really easy. So when it comes to the application forms, which I appreciate are really quite long-winded, it's not a quick process to just submit an application form for a training contract. It takes time. It can take a lot of that kind of research and make it a lot quicker. So you can focus on things that are really interesting you. You can get all of the deadlines out of the way and kind of brush past all the website information, and you can fill your application form with events that you've gone to, people that you've met at networking events, key takeaways that you've had from those interactions, and that's what your application can be full with, rather than the standard kind of website stats that you may have used previously. What we're not wanting you to do is copy and paste generic responses. So don't simply put in your answer, the question rather, to on the application form and then just copy and paste the first answer it gives you. Like I said, we have AI at Shoosmiths, so I've done that time and time again to get to know what those answers look like, and they're often all really samey and very similar, and that can stick out when I'm reading application forms. And it also loses the authenticity that is part of the application form criteria. That's what we're looking for. So you don't want to lose that. That is not something that's new with AI. That's always kind of been there, those more generic responses. But I suppose AI makes that a lot easier to do now. Don't use it to form opinions or ideas for you. So you want your application form to be a reflection of you, your strengths, your skills, your experiences. So make sure it is exactly that. And you shouldn't rely on it. So if you're starting an application for Shoosmiths and you are completely relying on AI, you're not really looking at any of the research, you're just getting answers and maybe changing them a little bit and submitting the application form, just have a step back and think, okay, why am I applying to this firm? And if you're kind of struggling to find the reasons, take that energy and put it into a different application form. Lots of people have different approaches when it comes to training contract applications. Some people want to submit as many as they possibly can. Some people want to target 3 or 4 firms. I would always go for the latter option, just because that's where your passions obviously lie, and you're signing yourself up to a 2-year job at the very least, and hopefully very, very much longer at a firm. But make sure that that firm reflects somewhere that you want to work and somewhere where you want to grow. So if you're relying on AI to submit your application form, just have a think, am I really motivated to work at this firm? Is this somewhere I want to be? And if yes, fantastic, but if no, then maybe have a think of where you can put that energy elsewhere. So a couple of ways that you can start using AI in the application form. There's a couple of example prompts on the screen there. So these are just really good ways to get started. So first of all, think about what are the typical responsibilities and duties of a trainee solicitor at Shoosmiths. We have loads of blogs on our website that are written mostly by our trainee solicitors. So this is a really good way to get a lot of that information in one place. Also use it for that kind of commercial awareness research. So any recent news or kind of achievements for Shoosmiths. So if you would have done that recently, maybe our AI kind of bonus would also have came up, and that's something you could embed into the application form. Also think about kind of current challenges in the legal sector. This is really important not only for your application form, but as you move through the recruitment process and get to the assessment centre. The assessment centre always has a theme, and this is often targeted to current challenges or trends that are being faced in the legal industry. So the earlier you can get to know that, the better. You can use it to proofread. One thing I will say is a lot of AI is kind of standardized to American grammar, so do keep an eye out for that. But it can help with things like awkward phrasing or trying to just condense information. And it can really help you pick out your own skills and strengths and the qualities that you have that are most valuable for not only a trainee solicitor, but specifically a trainee at Shoosmiths. So that will look a little bit different. The more you can tailor that and the more you can make it Shoosmiths specific, will really make your application form stand out. AI at the assessment centre. So our recruitment process, and specifically the assessment centre, is designed to mirror a real day in the life of being a trainee at Shoosmiths. So we just finished our recent round of assessment centres, and this year we tried to embed as much as we could Microsoft Copilot. So as part of the assessment centre, you're asked to complete a presentation style task. And we really wanted this to reflect the kind of situation a real trainee would be in. If they were given this task, they would have Microsoft Copilot in front of them. And so we allowed candidates to have that during their preparation time. And this was a really fantastic way to just see innovation and the future of our future talent joining the business, and see how much these assessment centres have evolved to now we're giving people the tools to do the best they can on the day. So a couple of ways people did use this during the assessment centres was to structure their presentation. So you're not given a lot of time. It is that kind of, it reflects a time pressured and quite stressful or panicked environment. But Microsoft Copilot can take a lot of that out and allow you to just focus on the information, the answer you're giving to the client as well. It can research and summarise. So although candidates were given a lot of information throughout the day, if they wanted to add things to their argument and provide a bit more evidence, Microsoft Copilot was able to help them with that. Draft content as well, so draft bullet points, so it made that presentation a little bit easier, and also refine language. So when you are talking directly to a client, it's really simple to just, it's really important to keep it simple. So it can really help with the kind of style in which you present things. So that's another way that we are using AI at the assessment centres. Like I said earlier, it doesn't kind of mark you, you're not marked on your use of AI, but we want to give you the tools and resources available. And we also want to get to know a little bit about your kind of knowledge on AI and where you think it's going to go in the future. So the more you can research, the more you can kind of become comfortable with the topic, the better it will be at the assessment centre. So what is the impact of all of this on your experience as a candidate and getting the training contract? So 1 in 2 candidates in our recruitment processes are using AI responsibly in their training contract or placement application with us, and they're openly sharing that information with us. Not only are they saying, yes, I've used AI, but they're telling us how they're using it, and that's really useful for us to know as a team. So we can think, okay, this is how candidates are using it. What can we do to help them with this kind of structure or certain information that they're looking for and are turning to AI to use? Enhanced applications. So candidates are using AI to help with word count and sentence structure, and it's just led to a noticeable improvement in the quality of applications across the board. It also has provided diverse responses. So we do obviously encounter those generic copy-paste style answers, but this isn't something new with the use of AI. This was there long before ChatGPT or AI kind of developed. But we are seeing a more creative and knowledgeable use of AI. What I have seen as well in this recent recruitment round is people are connecting to the role as much as they can. And that is something I must say about 100 times in the kind of events I do, is to connect it back to the firm. So maybe it's just because I talk about it all the time, but definitely it's hopefully something that's you've been able to do because AI has given you the word count or the structure in order to do it. And then skill development. So I think this is the most important thing that we're seeing from this, is that we're witnessing a whole new generation of lawyers who are adapting to and developing a brand new skill. So this is going to be hugely valuable to you in the future, especially at Shoosmiths, but more generally as well. So it's really exciting seeing future trainees come to an assessment centre and be really clued up on AI and could talk to a partner about it in a presentation style type interview and feel really comfortable with the topic. So that's been really great to see as well. So that kind of finalises my presentation and the thoughts I wanted to share with you today. I did also just want to share some key dates and deadlines that we have at Shoosmiths. So over the summer period, it is quite a nice, quiet time for people to just start figuring out what kind of firms they're looking for, what kind of areas they want to work in. So there's not too much going on now, but from September, we'll have virtual insight evenings. And they are really quick and easy to register to, and they give you a lot of information to just get to know Shoosmiths. We have our Discover Vacation Placement and Mentoring Scheme, so that is a diversity access scheme available for people from underrepresented groups in the legal industry, and applications open for that on the 1st of December to the 31st of January. The exact date for that placement isn't confirmed yet, but it's likely to take place in April. And then finally, our training contract 2028, so that's for a September 2028 start. That will also open on the 1st of December and close around the 31st of March. So please do keep a note of those deadlines. There is also a QR code on the screen now that will take you to our mailing list. So all of those deadlines and vacancies and events that we have going on, we'll email you to let you know when they open and when they close. And then also our social media is on there as well. Again, a really good way to just get to know Shoosmiths in a really easy way when just scrolling through Instagram, and we post quite a lot on there. So do keep in touch with us there. But I will stop sharing my slides now, and I will introduce our two trainees, if that's okay. So Taryn, I can see you on my screen first, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Taryn. I'm a first seat trainee in Shoosmiths Birmingham office. At the moment, I'm in the construction and engineering team. For those of you who are probably thinking, well, what's construction law? I was the exact same before I started, and the way it was sort of explained to me by an associate is that it's like doing a seat in commercial law, but you're looking at it from a construction angle. So imagine instead of drafting supply and distribution agreements or sponsorship agreements, you're drafting building contracts, warranties, third-party rights notices. So it's the same sort of work, but it's just all through a construction sort of lens. And it's a pretty good first seat. You get to do contentious work and non-contentious work, so you get quite a good mix.
Amazing, thank you, Taryn. And Sammy.
Hi everyone, I'm Sammy. I'm also a first seat trainee. I'm based in the data and privacy team, which sits under the commercial umbrella in the Reading office. We do a lot of work around data protection, so GDPR, and then sort of EU privacy laws. It's really, really interesting, touches on lots of different areas, and yeah, it's been a really good experience so far.
Amazing, thank you, Sammy. Thank you both for introducing yourself. And I suppose it's great that we've got two first seat trainees to hopefully speak about, I assume you got your training contracts around 2 years ago, and how that has kind of the AI and use of AI maybe looks a little bit different than when you first got that training contract offer to now being in the role. So Sammy, I'll stay with you if that's okay. How have you used AI tools in your role at the moment and in your current seat?
So I hadn't used AI at work before I started here, and now I make great use of Copilot almost daily. It's a really, really helpful tool. So a lot of the work we do in data is around research, and quite often it's sort of really lengthy articles about things that have happened in the data protection world, and it'll be a case of kind of reading through it and summarizing it into a more digestible format. I find Copilot really, really useful just to sometimes help me summarize these articles. So like copying a big chunk of text into Copilot and just saying, can you just summarize this in 3 paragraphs or so? Like, it doesn't take away the research element. It just helps to kind of make it more easily digestible and just break it down a little bit. I think that's kind of the main way that I've utilized it so far.
Fantastic. And it's really important that you made that point, that it doesn't take away the research skill, that is still really important to being a trainee solicitor. It just makes it easier and less kind of tedious, I suppose, and gives you extra time back in your day to focus on that research, maybe more than you would have done if you didn't have that tool. So that's really interesting. Thank you. And Taryn, what about you? How are you kind of using AI at the moment?
Similar to what Sammy said, really. So before working here, I never used AI at work. I think we've all used ChatGPT like outside of work, but I've never used it in the workplace. So since being here, since March, I've definitely used it. I'd say maybe actually daily in the last few months. I use it a lot, whether that's to redraft clauses, whether it's summarising an argument, whether we're negotiating something with the other side and I'm trying to make what I'm saying a little bit more concise. What's been quite helpful as well at Shoosmiths is Copilot, sort of our version of ChatGPT at the firm. It's sort of embedded into all of the applications we use. So if you're drafting an email, there's like a little tab there and you can just click on it and you can use Copilot to redraft the email. It's the same in Word, or it's the same across all your applications, really. So I think what also helps is that Shoosmiths sort of encourages us to use AI. Now you'll find that if your supervisor asks you to do something, they might actually suggest that you use AI to do it. Especially where we see this in the construction team is if we're drafting things. It's pretty helpful if you're drafting a complex clause to kind of whack it into AI and it will probably churn something out in 30 seconds that would have taken you probably 15 minutes. So it's definitely a big time saver, and I can see how that's beneficial for the clients, because obviously cutting time down means you're charging less. So yeah, we're using it quite a lot, mainly for drafting in the construction team.
Yeah, amazing. I also use that Outlook button. So I think there's two.
Yeah.
There's draft with Copilot and coaching by Copilot. And the coaching one I find really useful because it breaks down your tone, your clarity, and your structure of your email and tells you why it's changed certain things. So you might not always keep those certain things because you do still want it to sound like it's an email that's come from you. But especially when it comes to tone and how you're kind of delivering a message, I find it's really useful, and I definitely use it every day as well. So a big user of AI myself. Taryn, I'll stay with you. So what skills do you think you've developed kind of by using AI? What skills has it allowed you to develop more, or perhaps new skills that you didn't use before?
I'd probably say two. So like, first of all, I'd say prompt engineering. I think most of us are guilty of just kind of whacking something into AI and hoping it kind of churns out a great response. Quickly learned that that doesn't normally work. So we actually get training when we first join on the most sort of efficient ways to use AI. So we learn, how you should put your prompts in and how many prompts you should use to get the best output. So I'd say one thing now is that I've learned how to be a lot more intentional with prompts that I'm using and what I'm inputting. And I've realised over time that way you're getting sort of the best output from the AI in the shortest amount of time. I'd say, secondly, it's also taught me how to analyse and review the output of AI more. I think we're all guilty of sort of putting something into ChatGPT and then taking it for face value and being like, okay, yeah, this will do. You can't do that in the workplace, especially the kind of tasks you're given as a trainee. You can't just take a clause that is drafted and whack it straight into an agreement. A lot of the time it's not going to make sense, it's not got the right context. So one thing I've learned is to kind of ask Copilot for multiple variations of a clause. I then go through them myself, pick the best one and kind of tailor it accordingly. So I'd say that sharpened my critical thinking, because now I have to question what comes out of AI and see how it fits in or how it doesn't.
Yeah, it does come back to that worry that people have that it's taking away certain skills and certain roles, but I think it just looks a lot different in comparison to what it would have done. Critical thinking and attention to detail a trainee 20 years ago. You're just practicing that skill in a very, very different way. And Sammy, what about you? Anything to add on kind of the skills that you've developed through using AI?
To be honest, the main ones I was going to raise were prompt engineering and analysing the output as well. Especially, I think the prompt point was really, really useful, because I remember when I first joined, a couple of people in the team said they didn't really get on well with Copilot, and they found it didn't quite give them the output they wanted. And then I wasn't finding the same. And then when we kind of discussed it, it transpired that they weren't just quite using the right prompts. And I think the AI does really respond based on the way you put the prompts in. And yeah, just to agree with Taryn again on the kind of analysing the output and critical thinking skills, it's really sort of key that you analyse everything it comes out with and fact check and cross-reference everything. Slightly different spin on it as well. I think I've just learned a lot more about AI in general, because as I said, I hadn't used it before, and we received training on AI and the kind of ethical elements of it and the different types of AI, which I think was really, really interesting and is all kind of knowledge I otherwise wouldn't have known.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just become quite a big conversation at the firm between colleagues, teams, and yeah, it's really important to get that kind of knowledge from other people in how you're using it. It's exactly that AI can only do so much. If you're just saying, please change this email, and it doesn't know the context of it, and it kind of does just churn out anything. But yeah, it's all about that training and understanding how to prompt it correctly. So how do you think AI, Sammy, has influenced how you kind of collaborate with colleagues, and has it given you extra time back to focus on things that mean a lot to you and skills that you really want to develop during your time with Shoosmiths?
I mean, sort of going back to what I said earlier, it definitely gives me time back with the research tasks, as I said, because just being able to kind of simplify something and make it easier for me to digest, which makes the entire work output quicker and then gives me time back to focus on other things. I'm not sure quite how it's influenced how I collaborate with colleagues. Perhaps the kind of example I can think of is a colleague and I are working on doing some output for a presentation at the moment that we won't be presenting. We're just kind of doing some research for it, and we have had to bounce ideas off each other. We've kind of reached a point where we are a bit stuck on ideas, and then we've kind of gone to Copilot to help with that. So that's kind of sprung to mind. That's been really, really helpful.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good way to kind of collaborate with not only others but also Copilot to get a finished product. And Taryn, what about you? Kind of how has it changed any collaboration with you and your colleagues, or have you saved any time with it, and where are you putting that time?
It's definitely a time saver. Yeah, in terms of collaboration, I'd say a bit of an odd example, but we were trying to arrange a team social the other week, and me and the associate who were trying to arrange it, we had a lot of other more pressing work to do. So what we did is we got everyone's availability, everyone in the team just whacked it into Copilot and said, tell us the dates where everyone's free. And it came up with the 3 dates across, I think, 2.5 months or 3 months where everyone's available. That would have taken us ages to go through 2.5 months or 3 months worth of every single person's calendar and figure out which day everybody is free for social. It took Copilot like 2 minutes. So it definitely gets time back. And I mean, I guess indirectly will now help us collaborate at social. But in terms of managing workload, I don't really use it to manage my workload. I think this is where, I think Laura mentioned this as well, that AI shouldn't replace what we're doing as humans. It won't know the context around things. You're only going to know yourself which work's more urgent, or, you know, whether there's a deadline for something. And even small things, like say a partner is sat opposite me in the office, whereas my supervisor who I'm doing a task for, I know she's not in until tomorrow. Probably going to do that partner's work first, because if I've got any questions, he's literally sat right there. Small things like that, you can't over rely on AI. I think Laura's touched on that like so many times. So yeah, it allows for collaboration indirectly, but I would say make sure you're not over reliant on it to do everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a tool at the end of the day, and that's all it's there to do is help you. It's not supposed to take a job away from you or a skill away from you. It just can help make things quicker and a bit more efficient. So thinking into the future now, and Taryn, I'll stay with you. How do you think AI is going to look in the future, specifically for the legal profession?
I think it's actually quite exciting. We're always speaking about it at Shoosmiths, and I think the quality of work, I can only really speak for trainee lawyers, I'd say at this point, but I see the quality of work that we do as trainee lawyers kind of increasing. You can already see that now. So eventually, I think the majority of the admin tasks are all just going to be automated. We're already seeing that shift in the firm. So things that you would have done before aren't taking as much time anymore. So, for example, it's not AI specifically, but like document automation. We have tools like Contract Express that will just churn out a contract for you in minutes. Before, it would have been a trainee sitting there for ages drafting a contract, drafting again. Whereas now we just have a whole spreadsheet. You input what you need to input, put it through the software, and it comes back with the contract. So I think that sort of grunt work that sort of defined the early years of practice ages ago, I think that's going to go. And I think that's great for trainees because it means we actually get exposure to tasks that associates would have been doing before AI. So sitting and negotiating a contract, that's stuff that we maybe wouldn't have had exposure to in a 6-month seat, which we can do now because AI has kind of taken the admin tasks away from us. So I do think that means we'll also have to develop new skills. How we use AI, staying adaptable, making sure we're not sort of de-skilling ourselves and being over-reliant and getting AI to do all of the work for us. But I think, one of the most exciting parts about it is it just frees up so much time. And that means you can spend all of that time doing the more advanced critical thinking tasks that AI, I don't think we'll be able to do for years and years and years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely exciting. And Sandy, what about you?
I really mirror what Taryn said actually about AI kind of taking on some of the tasks that we would have been doing a lot more of sort of pre-AI and giving us the opportunity to do more sort of higher level work. I also just think efficiency. I mean, I know we've covered this loads, but using AI for enhanced drafting. So that's definitely something that I think will help every legal advisor in the firm, sort of removing errors, helping with efficiency with that, freeing up people's time, making the review time cut in half, giving us more time to do more work or different things. I think it will just be really, really helpful to help progress that area of things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of for everyone on this webinar at the moment, what advice would you give to them as future trainees to start embracing AI before they start their training contracts?
I think my key bits of advice to learn about it, like understand the kind of potential like ethical issues just to be aware of, use it to your advantage, embrace it, but absolutely remember that it's not a replacement for your brain or for people, and be conscious that it's not always perfect and everything still does kind of need to be checked, especially any kind of legal queries. I mean, I know at Shoes we quite often discourage using it just for specific legal queries, because it's not legally trained. But yeah, definitely sort of to check everything, check the output, and remember that it's not a replacement for you, but embrace it at the same time.
Amazing, thank you. And Taryn, anything to add?
I'd say sort of at Shoosmiths there's a lot of emphasis, and we're always reminded that AI won't replace lawyers. Instead, lawyers who do embrace AI will replace the ones that don't. So my first piece of advice would really be, embrace it, experiment with it, learn how to use it better. I do think in the future the best lawyers will be the ones that can kind of blend the things that make us human with sort of digital fluency and using AI, as you've said, like a tool. But yeah, to echo what Sammy said, I'd say overly rely on it. Laura even mentioned in her slides, you know, nobody's looking for applications that just come straight out of, you know, ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever. So yeah, just make sure you're not de-skilling yourself, but don't shy away from using AI. Most firms now do encourage the use of AI. I think you'll always get left behind if you're not willing to do the same.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much. I've learned a lot about AI and how you're using it as trainees. And I thought I'd just finish on a non-AI question, but a question I like to ask all the same. So what's been kind of the best part of your experience at Shoosmiths? That can be like a specific example or just why you're enjoying your time at Shoosmiths so far. And Taryn, I'll start with you.
I'd say work-wise, a few weeks ago actually. So I've been in this seat now since March, and there's been, I'll say 3 or 4 contracts we've been working on for a specific client, and we've been working on them for months. Every single week there's been something happening with them. And finally we got to completion. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. It was pretty rewarding. I'd say being involved with something from start to finish, and the supervisor I work with is great. She lets me sit in on everything. She doesn't just give you the sort of front work, you're sat in the negotiation, getting involved as well. So to see it right from the beginning all the way to the end, and now everything's signed and done, the client's buzzing about it, I think that's great. That's been probably the most rewarding work-wise, because you can actually sort of see the tangible efforts of what you're doing. And then in terms of what I enjoy, everyone says this, people probably fed up of hearing this, but the culture, Shoosmiths culture is just great. Everyone is so approachable. We had a assessment centre actually at the Birmingham office a couple of weeks ago, and when we were doing the office tour, all the people that were the applicants were saying the exact same thing. They were shocked by how human everyone is. You can bump into, you know, a partner, someone doing admin, a BD person, whoever. Everybody speaks to you in the exact same way. I don't think that's the same across a lot of firms, if I'm being honest. So yeah, the culture here is pretty cool. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very common answer, which just I think means that it must be true because everyone gives the same kind of answer as to why they enjoy working at Shoosmiths. But Sammy, what about you? What's been the kind of most rewarding experience and kind of why you're at Shoosmiths in the first place?
I think one of the most rewarding things about working in my particular team is quite often we'll have a big piece of work come in sort of very suddenly with a very tight deadline. And when that happens in my team, everyone who's available, i.e. not on holiday, pulls together. We all jump on a call, we all divvy up the work, and we all like help each other to get it done. And it's a really nice like collaborative exercise, and it really kind of helps to take away the stress of something coming in last minute and the deadline being quite looming. There's been a couple of times over the past couple of months where that's happened, and it's always such a rewarding feeling when it finishes, especially because the last time it happened, the work all needed to be done on a Friday, and we were all kind of like working together all day, like checking in, and then we all managed to get it done by the end of the day, and it just felt really nice that we'd worked so collaboratively and got through it really. Things I've enjoyed particularly so far as well is just the different types of kind of learning and knowledge that you pick up from working with a lot of different people. So you can have sort of similar pieces of work, but supervised by different people. And I find that despite everyone working sort of collaboratively, people are always going to give you kind of different tidbits of knowledge just based on like their experience and their level. And I feel like that really like broadens your learning at Shoosmiths. So yeah, that's definitely something that I've really enjoyed so far.
Amazing, thank you. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Taryn. I'll hand back over to LCN now to see if there's any questions that have come in from the audience. So yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, we have had some questions come through and quite interesting actually. One of them is from Angelica, and it's about has AI made applications more competitive, and then did the standards rise in the application process? I think Laura, that's all for you.
Yeah, definitely. So we didn't see as big of a rise as we were expecting. To put that into context, we received around 2,500 applications, and that was about a 10% increase from last year. That is for 20 vacancies across our 5 offices at Shoosmiths. So there was definitely a rise. It does feel like it gets more competitive each year. But I think staying ahead of the curve, especially with AI, is really important. But taking away from using AI in the application form, just staying up to date with Shoosmiths, keeping in touch, attending events like LCN Live or just online webinars like this, and really embedding yourself into the firm as much as you can when you're this early on in your career can really push you forward. And I always like to see applications where you can quite clearly see someone's been on, as cringy as it sounds, a bit of a journey with Shoosmiths, and they've attended events and got to know us. Then they're at the assessment centre and then they get the offer. So that's like a really nice thing to witness. So yeah, it does get competitive, and that is the nature of training contracts. But I wouldn't say there's been any scary increase that I was expecting. So that's good because I didn't have too much extra to do in my day-to-day job. But yeah, it was a slight increase in numbers.
Great, thank you, Laura. And this next one might be more catered towards Taryn and Sammy. What tasks do you think still could be revolutionized in law firms by AI that haven't been yet?
That's a good question. Any ideas, Taryn?
Yeah, actually, I'd say one thing which we never use AI for is negotiation. I think I mentioned this earlier. I think we're still far away from this being a thing, but AI can't really deal with things that are pressing and live. I tend to find that if somebody asks me to finish something now and get it back to them, as soon as possible in 15 minutes, I'm not going to sit there messing around with AI probably. And it's the same when you're on a call negotiating something. You can't just have Copilot or something running in the back kind of churning things out for you. So I'd say that's definitely one thing. Things that are more pressing, things that are kind of happening live, like a call with a client or a call negotiating a contract with the other side. Don't think we yet have anything, not really heard of any firm really having anything that helps when you're doing tasks like that. Sammy, I'll chuck it back to you.
Yeah, nothing was kind of jumping to mind because in my particular team, we use AI an awful lot. So I can't think of anything where it could help us further. But hearing what you said, yeah, I do echo that actually. Negotiating and sort of live issues. You're absolutely correct. If something pressing was happening, I wouldn't be kind of messing around with AI. I'd just be trying to crack on with it myself.
Great, thank you very much. I think there's also interesting sort of like people trying to get ahead of it and start practicing using different tools. And someone has asked, how can students prepare in using AI in the same way that lawyers use? Which AI software would you recommend they could have a go and start using?
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one first. I'd say I think I've compared it to ChatGPT a couple of times. Copilot is pretty similar. The structure's the same. It just has that one box at the bottom and you just input whatever you're inputting. I'd say whatever AI you're using, so say you're using ChatGPT whilst you're, trying to refine something that you've written. I mean, I'm not sure you're allowed to use it for your essays and stuff, but say you're doing a piece of group work, say you're doing a presentation, and you want to make something that you've written more concise, or you want to make it sound more X, Y, or Z, more professional, whatever. I'd say probably just using it in that way will set you up well when you start working in a law firm. It's essentially what we're doing, but we're just doing it in a different context. We're doing it with a clause, with a client email, whereas you'll be doing it with a bulk of information you put in a PowerPoint or a presentation. So it's the same skills, we're just using it in a slightly different way for a different task.
Yeah, I would echo that. I was thinking ChatGPT because, yeah, I mean, I hadn't even used ChatGPT before I started here. And then once I started here and started using Copilot, I then started using ChatGPT outside of work because it is very similar, very helpful. So, yeah, and just learning about AI, like if you don't know much about it and how the programs work and how it can work, then just doing a bit of research around that, I think would be really beneficial.
Great. And a few attendees are interested if you're using any other AI tools at Shoosmiths other than Copilot in the office or day-to-day work.
One that I use a fair bit it's called Definely. It's one that we have on Microsoft Word, and it basically is like a enhanced spell check. So spelling, grammar. It also can flag defined terms. So if you've got a capitalized term in a contract, for example, and it's not actually defined in the definitions section, it flags up things like that. I find that really, really helpful. And always when I finish a piece of drafting, just quickly click on Definely and run it through just to check my work.
Yeah, to add to that, yeah, Definely is pretty much like when you see those Grammarly adverts everywhere. It's basically our version of that. We also have something called Kira. I actually used this earlier today before this call. What that does is it kind of just compares two documents. So say you've got a template and the client wants a warranty drafted in this set way. That's your template. That's like your master version. Then you draft your warranties and blah, blah, blah. Before everything's put up onto DocuSign, so before the final version is kind of sent for everybody to sign, you'd use Kira or another tool that we have that compares two documents together. It will basically do a comparison of each, and it will just show you one copy that has all the changes that have been made. That's good because when you're sending documents over to the other side and they're editing it, they're changing it, they might edit something, not maliciously, but when you're using track changes and stuff, things can kind of get muddled up. So they might have edited something and it might look slightly different to how the client wants it to look. That will flag the changes for us. That's really efficient because now instead of me having to go through, 300-page building contract, this tool is just going to pick up all the changes that have been made for me.
Awesome. And yeah, just on the topic of contracts, I think quite a few attendees are interested in sort of the process of using AI when reviewing and negotiating contracts and analyzing. And one person has asked, how often has AI hallucinated while you've used it for things, for example, such as document review or research?
By hallucinated, do you mean like it's not doing what
it's producing like a wrong result. It's pulling information that's not accurate or from somewhere else.
Yeah, to be fair, that actually happened a few weeks ago. A partner asked me to research something. He said he wants it done urgently. And it was a really niche kind of part of the CDM regulations, which is like the construction design and I think like management regulations. It was a really niche part of that. Nothing was coming up on Google. So I put it into Copilot to see if it could come up with anything. Half of the links that it churned out were just useless, to be honest, like they weren't relevant at all. But the other links that churned out, they weren't exactly relevant to what I was doing, but they definitely kind of give you the right route. So the links that it came up with, I'd click on those websites and I might have used those websites to search further. But yeah, it doesn't always hit the nail on the head. And I think that kind of echoes what we said earlier, that you should be using it as a tool and not relying on it and then just pinging that across to someone.
Yeah, I think the only time I've experienced it as well is research, when you've sort of plugged a question in and then it churns out an answer that is completely on the wrong track. But then I sometimes play around with my prompt and find that it was perhaps my prompt that wasn't great. So I'm not sure how much that's AI hallucinating and maybe me just needing to amend my prompt. But yeah, I'd say that's the only time I've really experienced any sort of issue with it.
Thank you both for that. And yeah, I think it goes the same way for attendees, for example, if they end up using AI for the research process when applying to Shoosmiths, for example, you still need to double check things and also making sure that AI hasn't made up anything about you as well in your application. But yeah, I think this is all the questions we have time for. Thank you so much to all three of you for today. Before you go, just another reminder to our attendees that we will be sending out a session, so please keep an eye out for that. And a survey will be also popping up once this masterclass has ended, so please fill that in to let us know how you enjoyed today, as well as what other topics you'd like to see us cover in the future. Also, remember to check out our Legal Careers Conferences, Law Careers Net Live, and apply by the 30th of October this year. Thank you very much once again to our panelists and to everyone attending today. I think it's been a great session, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you.